The KARAKA 2021 preview show is brought to you by a stable of sponsors.
She's holding Conqueror for late in third spot, then by has to be good, but she's done it. She's done the KARAKA million double. Probabeel won it.
Hello and a very warm welcome to the KARAKA 2021 preview show. It's a pleasure to have your company with us, and we've got two special guests with me today on the panel. Michael Guerin, a very warm welcome.
Yeah, hi Em, and a big hi to everybody watching not only in New Zealand of course, but around the world, which Emily is going to be one of the themes of this sale. So many of our buyers internationally won't be on the grounds with us, and we wish them the best of luck. But I think for that reason, and many others, this is going to be an exciting sale, and a sale where we learn some stuff about the way we're going to sell horses in the future.
Absolutely. Our other special guest on the preview show today is NZB representative Danny Ralston. And Danny, great to have your company. Things are well and truly underway here for the big sale.
Thanks, Em. It certainly comes around quickly, doesn't it, each summer, and we've been busy out on the road parading the yearlings and seeing all the local buyers and agents, and looking forward to getting the show under the road again.
It's going to be coming around pretty quickly. Let's have a little look at last year's statistics. That was for the Book 1 sale in 2020. We had an aggregate of $67,130,000. 484 horses sold. Now that was for an average of $138,698 with a clearance rate of 79%. And Danny, that's important, that clearance rate, and that's what we'll be aiming for this year too.
Yeah, of course, it's really important. When we see a good clearance rate, that means that it spreads right across all the vendors, and we did see a really strong sale last year. All our important indicators were up across the board. It was only marginally up on 2019, but they were up nonetheless, and that was really driven by a return to the spend by the Australian market, followed quickly on by increases from Hong Kong and China and the US.
Michael, it's going to be a different sale this year, isn't it? We're under these COVID-19 conditions, and it's going to be really interesting to see how people adapt to that.
Yeah, and some of the people who we're used to seeing on the grounds, not just the owners from overseas, but the agents aren't going to be here either. But most of them have their systems in place to buy online. The online platform we'll discuss shortly is outstanding. Now, it was given a very robust workout during the Ready to Run sales here, and the reports were incredibly positive. So I think the world's moving in a direction where if this was the first sale on earth under these circumstances, it'd be far trickier for people. I think it's really important where the agents sit, where the vendors sit with the technology and all the information they're able to provide. I don't know exactly how it's all going to pan out, but as I said, that's one of the fascinating things about KARAKA 2021. I think we're all going to be learning together.
And Danny, you've been out and about, you've been meeting the vendors. What's the general opinion from them?
Look, everybody's realistic and understanding that the circumstances are quite a bit different this year. We've had the luxury of the Ready to Run sale under our belt, so that we've tested our technology, and no, everybody's optimistic and really positive going into the sale.
Well, let's find out from the vendors themselves what their COVID response has been.
Well, I think we're all just trying our best, and who knows what lies ahead. But look, I'm a great believer that all of us that are in this industry right at the present time, we're in it for a reason. It's our life, it's our passion, it's what we do. So everybody included, whether you're a buyer, whether you're a seller, whatever you are in between, everybody's trying their best.
Well, we've got a lot more videos and photos of the horses this year, obviously to try and reach our Australian audience and Hong Kong audience as well. I guess we've been on the phone a lot more than what we would normally, trying to inform buyers of the quality we've got this year.
There's a lot of emphasis on the videos and doing a lot more of that kind of footage. We're quite fortunate. We've had our horse passport system the last couple of years, which has a lot of vet reports and outside information, which I think lends itself to the current environment. But we're trying to go extra with the level of footage and the quality of the footage. So I think that's going to be very important for the buyers that can't be here.
Everyone's had their buy-in from a staff point of view first. I've got broodmare staff working on yearlings, which they generally haven't done in years gone by because we haven't been able to get some of the young people from the Northern Hemisphere. So that's from a prep point of view.
Probably we've diverted quite a bit of our spend this year that we would have put into on sales promotion, like marquees and food and everything that we do at KARAKA. We will still do that. But a lot of that money we've diverted to videos and different ideas as far as information that we can provide to prospective buyers.
Oh look, it's been a challenge, hasn't it? I think one of the biggest things is the transparency of your product. Little Lavender, we haven't been here for 80 years for no reason at all. We've been up front. You back your stock, don't you? So I think if you can supply as much information to these guys as you can, that's really going to set you in stead.
From a promotional part of view, a lot more time on our videos. We're using 2 veterinarians to give x-ray reports on scopes and the x-rays. We'll do a health report as well, trying to give as much information to the buyers as possible because we know a number of them aren't going to be here, and then hopefully that drags them into then talk more about the horse.
Yeah, like everybody, it's a little bit of an unknown really, but obviously the information we're going to provide, the videos, the photos, etc. Is going to be a step up on what everybody's done previously, and I know all the vendors and staff have put a lot of effort into it, and it is very time consuming. Communications, we'll be looking to target people that have perhaps brought horses off us before that have succeeded, or people with relatives of horses we're selling and horses by our stallions. Just trying to really generate the interest and hope that obviously the New Zealand Bloodstock new online bidding platform will be a big advantage.
But yeah, look, photos, videos, we'll be there, but we'll be on the end of the phone, and we'll be there to try and help as many people to see what the horse is in imagination as well, what they can't see on the film.
For those people that are unable to be present at KARAKA this year that we've done business with in the past, all New Zealanders, there's videos of every horse, there's all sorts of information on every horse. Basically, usually we say what you see is what you get. Well, this year what you read or what you see on your computer is what you'll get. And from everybody in New Zealand, we've got great relationships with these people, so it's only a matter of we're a phone call away and you'll get an honest answer.
Well, that's the vendors' response to COVID-19. Danny, of course, NZB have had to adapt too. Tell us a little bit about what you guys have done.
Well, we went into lockdown right leading into two of our sales. We had the South Island sale and the May weanling sale coming up, so we had to move pretty quickly with those. So we were able to move those online, but leading into the Ready to Run, which is the second biggest sale of the year, we had to be really well prepared with a robust digital solution for real-time bidding, and luckily we had that already, that technology with the Gabble House platform, so we had to adapt that, and we're really proud of the way that worked at the Ready to Run and will hold us in good stead for KARAKA.
Tell us a little bit about that online buying platform.
What we wanted to replicate is we wanted people to feel involved. We didn't want it to be a sterile process, which it could have very easily been. So we've thrown a bit of colour, a bit of involvement. The auctioneers really play to the online bidders at home, and we've made it simple, we've made it accurate and fast, and the feedback's been really, really good.
And Danny, where can people get involved in this online buying platform?
Either directly from our homepage, nzb.co.nz, or straight to bidonline.nzb.co.nz. And of course, if anybody overseas wants to get inspection notes or veterinary information or anything supplement for a horse to help them bid, then either our team or the Bloodstock Agents Federation in New Zealand more than willing to help, and people can just get in touch.
Talking of coming up to an online buying platform, let's just enlighten you around that selling schedule for 2021. Now, the KARAKA Million Barrier Draw, that'll be the 20th of January here at the New Zealand Bloodstock Sales Complex. We then roll on into the KARAKA Million Twilight Meeting before Book 1 starts Sunday the 24th of January through to Tuesday the 26th. And then, of course, Book 2 Wednesday the 27th, Thursday the 28th. All of that here at the New Zealand Bloodstock Sales Complex. I guess, Michael, you'd have a good indication on what people are thinking, both buyers and vendors. What's the vibe out there? I get the feeling that things are relatively positive.
Yeah, it's been really interesting, Emily. I thought there might be a little touch of doom and gloom because of the lack of overseas visitors on the grounds. Most of the major agents I've spoken to have said, look, we're still buying. We're going to be buying for people. They're still going to want horses. Horse racing's not going away. Racing actually hasn't changed that much at all. So that dynamic hasn't changed. What I have found has been more buoyancy in the domestic market. Trainers I've spoken to for two reasons. We have some major announcements going on in New Zealand racing. Racing's in a better governance state than it was. We have a massive change in northern racing where there's going to be a lot of money freed up from potential sales of Avondale and Pukekohe, and therefore stakes, which most of these horses won't be racing properly for another 2 years. Those horses will be able to at least start to feel the impact of that. Also, the flip side was some of the local trainers are saying, hey, the last couple of years I've been blowing away on the big colts I wanted. I couldn't compete with some of those overseas buyers. They're hoping they might be more competitive in this market. I think because the New Zealand economy has recovered better than anywhere else in the world from COVID, I think there's going to be a really strong buoyancy about the domestic market and lots of positive indicators, as we've seen in the housing market, in the boat market, in the luxury car market. A lot of those people are involved in this sort of discretionary spending.
And talking of big years at the sales, there's one stud who's hitting a particular milestone. That's Little Avondale Stud, who are celebrating their 80th year. Buzz and Suze, we're here celebrating 80 years of Little Avondale Stud, and I know a particularly fond memory is getting the first $100,000 yearling. Tell me about that.
Well, it was a absolute magical moment because it was the sound barrier for those days. The first in Australasia. We got two on the same day. Lorraine Jamieson from Cardeness, just up the line a bit, but it was a huge moment. I remember we got to 70,000 and it stopped. And I thought, come on, for God's sake, you've got to go a little bit more than that. 70's not enough, I want 80. And we went at 80, and then it stopped again. And I'm walking around, and I'm really quite disappointed at 80 grand. And then it went bang, bang. And Tommy Smith ended up at 100, and it was just, the horse was out of control for 3 hours, and I was out of control for 4.
One of the highlights, I think one of the first would have been leading my first yearling through the ring. Buzz and Tom thought it was going to sell for about 40,000 and it ended up being our sale topper for 175. So that was one of the highs. In our 75th year, selling a yearling for just shy of 800. That was a big high. But I think you have highs every day when you fold mares in the foaling paddock and you see them winning on the track. You know, that's one of the biggest kicks, and that's what it's all about for us.
Getting the Dewar Trophy and the Breedmare of the Year, that was a magical moment too. So Mum and Dad were there. My brother Tom and his wife were there, Dutch and I were there, and it was really good. It was a great time.
Listen, we're the third generation, so I'm just lucky to be the one who's caretaking at the helm at the moment, and you know, the hard work's all been done before us with my grandparents and Buzz and Suze, my parents. There's a lot of history there with obviously Sunbride producing 3 horses to run first, second, third and fourth in the Melbourne Cup, Diana winning 5 derbies, but I think it's about yesterday's winners, isn't it? And you know, Your Deal, champion 2-year-old last year. Whimsical, you know, picking up the Group 3 the other day, the Eulogy Stakes. Avanalo, you know, heading towards the Karaka Millions. Look, there's a lot of the horses that are out there performing currently, and that's what it's about. It's not about just the horses of history. That's where we're lucky, because we've got the history behind us and the foundation, and it takes a lot of money to get to that point, doesn't it? But it's about the next winner. Katrina and I are really enjoying the 80th year, and whilst it's been COVID, we're going to make the most of it and enjoy ourselves at the sales, and yeah, let's hope it's a boomer.
Everything to do with our man's always been so positive since he retired here in 2018. He's bred full books the first 3 years, so that tells you the breeders have been really happy with the foals and everything that they've seen, and now we're really excited to be showing them off to buyers. You know, he was such a good racehorse. He won his first 3 starts, a stakes winner at 2, went on to be champion 3-year-old and won 3 group 1s at 3, but even that I think undersells him a little bit, because he was the champion 3-year-old, but he was the best horse in Europe. He was the highest rated horse. He beat every horse there was to beat in Europe that year and retired with a time form rating of 133. And I mean, to put that into perspective, you're talking about like Winks, So You Think. So that's the calibre of horse that has a time form rating at that level. Lot 7 is a lovely colt out of a black type mare. Her first foal's already got black type. It's one of the best pedigrees in the book. It's a stallion's pedigree, and he's just a really striking colt. Our last one to go through is a half brother to Johnny Get Angry, who won the VRC Derby. So again, hopefully we'll finish on a high, and there's some lovely horses through the middle. We've got a couple of fillies out of Vanity Queen and Silver Blossom. They're out of lovely European families. They wouldn't look out of place in any catalogue, you know, in the best sales in Europe. So yeah, a lot to look forward to with him, and some really nice types.
He stood at Darley, for 2 seasons, and then came to Haunui in 2020, and he served a really nice book of mares, 78 mares, which was pretty good in his 3rd season. He was a champion miler. We know that his sire, Ifraj, has crossed really well with a broad spectrum of New Zealand mares, and I see the same thing happening with Ribchester. He's an unproven horse, and they all stay that way until progeny hits the racetrack. But I think he adds everything that a New Zealand breeder will want, and what we're seeing in his progeny is very exciting.
What of his lots should we be looking out for?
103, all day long. If the colt's anything to go by, Wentwood have got a really nice filly. He's left a more physical style of horse than probably Ifraj himself. Great temperamented horses, and we've been very lucky with the breeders that have used him in New Zealand have come back and supported him in the 3rd year.
He's a good-looking horse. He's a fertile horse. We saw his a progeny up there in England. We were wrapped with what we saw, but we're even more tickled pink down here with the progeny down here. I love them. Attractive foals, and the comments, the feedback we've been getting from the agents has been enormous. You know, Dean Hawthorne, Bruce Perry, you know, they're 2 of the best judges in the business, and they've both been very, very complimentary. So yeah, look, I'm excited about KARAKA, and I'm excited about Time Test. And the Aloha filly, I think she's the closest resemblance of Aloha's progeny, like a mother. She's got a lot of the family traits, and I love it a bit, so I'd love to keep her.
One of the others we've seen today was the I'm a Lady.
She's one of the fillies that a few of the agents have really made a lot of comment about. More so the fact that she's in book 2. They thought she was really book 1 quality, which is great. You know, you're much really better to be a bigger fish in a small pond, aren't you? She's a lovely walking filly. She's got grace about her. She's very feminine and got plenty of leg, and it's one of the Time Test traits. And look, I like her a lot.
They sell them as foals in Japan, as you probably know, up at Northern Horse Park in Hokkaido. And his first crop went through last year, and they were extremely well received. I mean, I know the numbers are slightly different, but they ended up averaging around 700,000 New Zealand, which put them right up with the top first season size in Japan. And there was a lot of comment on them up there, how the quality and athleticism. And so that's continued on down here. He's a lovely, elegant horse himself, and very much an athlete, and he seems to have put that into his stock. And yeah, there's a lot of good talk around from the people that have been to look at the horses on the farm. Early in the sale, we've got lot 18, a colt out of a Zabel mare called Lady Gaga. He's quite a late foal, but you wouldn't think so looking at him. He's extremely strong, good walking horse. And the other colt we've got out of Miss Christelle, that great, Miss Jessie J, G.I. Jane family that's so fast and has done so well. He's a lovely colt. Also a colt out of a mare called In the Spotlight. That's, a very current pedigree, and he's very much a quality animal with plenty of presence. So, but the whole draft of Satonos, they've created a really good impression.
And out of those New Zealand-based first season sires, don't forget about War Decree, of course, Darren, and also What's the Story, well representing the New Zealand breds. Let's have a little look at the breakdown of the first season sires, both New Zealand-based and international. Al Manzoor, of course, at the top of the list, 48 in Book 1, 2 in Book 2, best represented. Satono Aladdin standing at Ritual Stud in behind him with 9 and 15. And as you can see, plenty of quality throughout our first season sires. wanted to take a little more of an in-depth look at some of those first season sires, and I thought I'd call on you two to give us a little bit more insight. Michael, we'll start with you, Al Manzoor.
I think everybody's looking forward to seeing what happens here, Emily. He could be not just a massive force at this sale with 48 in Book 1, but a massive force in this industry heading forward. We know he was a great racehorse, everybody knows that. He profiles well for what we tend to sell best, which is those horses who are going to be competitive in Guineas races, and both here and in Australia. But the support of the broodmare owners around him, including of course Cambridge Stud where he stands, has been massive. When you go through this catalogue and get to an Al Manzoor, almost certainly the mare underneath has black type herself, she's left a black type winner, or she is a sister to a black type winner. I can't remember in the last 5 or 10 years since I've been really paying attention to the KARAKA sales and buying horses myself, a first season stallion with this depth of broodmare help. So there's no certainties in racing, we know that, but everybody will be jaw dropped if he is not a success at the sale and a success at stud.
Below him comes Satono Aladdin, who is a global superstar son of Deep Impact. We know the impression that he's made internationally. Satono Aladdin was also the winner of Japan's highest rated mile, the Group 1 Yasuda Kinnan, and himself a $1.7 million foal purchase. Just shows the quality of his progeny. Move along to War Decree. Danny is the next one.
Yeah, he's by Warfront, who's making a huge impact with his sons at stud throughout the world. From a street cry mare, and second dam is a great ticker tape who raced in America at the highest level for a number of years. You know, he was a Group 2 winner at 2. He trained on at 3 and 4. You know, we've been around and we've seen all the progeny of the first season sires, and you know, Al Manzoor will take a lot of the focus, but this is a horse that I've got a lot of time for. He's leaving a really, really good looking yearling.
And Michael, back to you with Time Test.
Yeah, good to see Dabawi Blood coming into New Zealand. Obviously, he's one of the iconic stallions in the world. A lot of the agents and trainers I've spoken to really like them, bit of leg underneath them. They're quite athletic horses. He was a winner himself from 1400 up to 2100. So again, that profiles nicely for what New Zealand horses and New Zealand sales tend to try and do. His dam won a Group 1 as a 2-year-old, so there's some potential there they'll run early, but yeah, look, there's lots to like about him. And when you have those horses come out from Europe, you do have sometimes, with some horses, a slight concern about whether they'll also operate on the firmer ground here, but he holds the track record for 2,000 metres at Ascot, so he's a horse who can clearly operate on more New Zealand and Australian-like conditions.
Ribchester, who's just joined Hanui Farm stallion ranks. He's done 1 season with Hanui Farm and spent previous 2, of course, in Australia. A great addition. A champion European miler at 3 and 4. 4 Group 1 wins at the mile. Ifraja's best son and also a Royal Ascot record setter. And he shuttles between Dali and New Zealand. And if the colt I saw at Hanui Farm is anything to go by, he looks like he's got some great progeny on the ground. Danny, we come to you next. Darren, also a first season sire.
Yeah, standing there at Grange William, he's a barnmate to Zed. He's an out-and-out speed horse and competitive in the most, the highest-rated sprints in Australia. He was a Group 2 winner over 1,200 metres by Hinchinbrook, who's no longer there in the Hunter Valley, and comes from the family of Snippets and not a single doubt. So a prolific, fast Australian family. And out of his 20-odd starts, almost half of those were all in Group 1 races over the sprint distance. So form around Redzail, beat Global Glamour, beat Impending. He's a good addition for us.
And Michael, to you, what's the story?
This is about as domestic as a horse can possibly be bred. Obviously, he's by Savabeel, out of a really strong CD family, that tall poppy, fun on the run type family. Doesn't have a lot of representation. Ran second in the Derby at Ellerslie, was unlucky on that occasion. I think he's a horse who will chip in nicely at a different sort of market to some of those other first season stallions.
Well, not just talking about first season sires, but also the depth in New Zealand-based sires as a whole. Savabeel, of course, our flag bearer across a number of years, and this year no exception. 43 in the Book 1 sale. Tavistock doing a marvellous job. Reliable Man Ifraj as well with 20 lots or more. There's a couple of horses on that page, boys, that really have come of age, I feel, and they're adding a lot of depth to that New Zealand stallion rank.
Yeah, look, I don't think we've been in this as strong a position for a while with where we're sitting in particularly the Australian size premierships. We finished the season last season with at least 5 of our local stallions in the top 30. In Hong Kong we had 5 in the top 20. So we're in really good shape from sire representation, and you know, Savabeel, I read today on the Waikato Stud website, he's got more stakes winners in the current season than any stallion that's started in Australasia.
Wow, that's a remarkable achievement. So we've also pretty well represented on an international level as well. Let's have a look at some of those international sires in Book 1 of our catalogue. 10 or more lots for So You Think, Astern, No Nay Never, Piero, Pride of Dubai, Rubik, American Pharaoh. The list goes on and on, Michael, and wow, we're very privileged, not just New Zealand based, but internationally, to have these fantastic names.
Yeah, 2 things. With the first season stallions, the ones who are coming internationally, there's a lot of speed, and I think it's a lot easier to buy or sell a horse if you can crack $1 million it. People say, I might KM this horse, and they're happy to go with first season speed stallions we're getting from Australia for that. I think out of all the stallions you mentioned, yes, wonderful blood there, but Piero's the one who's going to have a massive sale. Piero has got some really strong mares in the sale. He doesn't have huge numbers. He's going to be really well represented. He had the top lot last year at 900,000. I wouldn't be surprised if he's the top averaged stallion by the time we get through Book 1.
Yeah, he's an incredible horse, isn't he? And so sort of, I don't know what the word is, but he just covers all bases.
Versatile.
Versatile. Derby winners, sprinters. He can do it all, can't he?
Fillies, colts, you know, the whole lot, and also Australasian wide spread of them for the Australasian market. We've got top horses in WA and top horses in New Zealand. People have paid big money for Piero for the last couple of years, Danny, and you can see why.
Yeah, I mean, he was a superstar on the track for Gay Waterhouse, and he's been a prolific sire already. And look, just another note there, I mean, there's So You Think, Kermadec and Dundeel. I mean, these are stallions that are really flying in the Hunter Valley that all carry the New Zealand suffix, and KARAKA is a good place to come and find yourself a colt to go to stud eventually too.
Yeah, it sure is, and that's clear to see from the results that you get year in and year out. All right, we're going to get you off to a break, and on the back of that, we talk to some of the vendors about their highlight lots and also their drafts. You're back with us for the KARAKA 2021 preview show, and we get straight off to find out what the vendors think about their drafts and also highlight lots.
We've got a draft of 40, which is probably a fewer numbers than we would ordinarily take to KARAKA, but we decided with, you know, the question mark over how the sale was going to proceed to really filter our draft down to that number, which was a manageable number for us.
Oh look, we'll end up at about 30 this year. We started off with a few more than that, but of course there's always a little attrition, but look, 30 odd horses that we're really proud of.
44 yearlings, Emily, 24 in Book 1 and 20 in Book 2.
We started off with, I think, about 94, 95, and I think we'll end up with a few little withdrawals for various reasons coming out, so we're probably going to aim about 87, 88 horses going through.
This year we're slightly back on numbers. We've got 30 in total, or 31 in total, mainly because for staff reasons we couldn't get any overseas staff, and so we just made a decision before the sales just to bring the numbers back a bit, but it's still keeping us busy.
Taking a draft of 24, which is smaller than previous years, but that's not to say it's lacking quality. I think we've got a really lovely lineup of fillies.
We've got a draft of 48 this year, which is pretty much in line with what we've had the last couple of years, so another big draft for this year.
Very diverse draft this year. We've got some 18 stallions, a lot of first season size, Russian Revolution, Churchill, Impending, so it really adds flavour to our draft. And probably the one thing this year is the quality of the charm spirits we have. They're outstanding, and it's his 3rd year of yearlings, so we've just learned how to make them better, and it's amazing the horses we've got in our draft by him.
Probably the proven sire sort of fact, obviously Savabeel and Ocean Park, and then followed on by that the even the Sacred Falls, and then really excited about the Tavachis in amongst the draft as well.
Ooh, always hard to single out individual horses, but probably if I'm going filly wise, lot 27, the Ifrage filly out of Patrimonium from an international family, lovely big scopy filly. Delighted with the way she's handled prep, she's handled it really easily. Lot 70, the Merchant Navy filly out of Rena Bettina, the first foal of a reliable man, daughter, half-sister to Valpolicella, and obviously our Haunui Foundation family, so it's about the 8th generation. 244, the Ocean Park out of Annie Higgins, vending for a long time, Haunui client, breeder of Melody Bell, Mrs Marie Lester. Annie Higgins was a great mare, won the Counties Cup, Waikato Cup, and by Ocean Park. And then probably 527, the Al Mansour, first crop stallion, grandson of Ifrage. And out of Marquesa, left a really exciting horse in Hong Kong, winning Dreamer, and tails back to the 8 Carat family.
I don't think we've got a real standout, but we've got a lot of nice horses, and I guess that feedback is what we've received in the parades leading into KARAKA this week, and they just a lot of people said you've got some really nice horses and a good overall draft, so it's going to be a different year. I guess we've got some, very much a strong representation of our own stallions and Reliable Man and Redwood, Swiss Ace, El Rocker and Tarzina and Talperian, but we've also got a nice complement of the likes of Deepfield, Dundee, So You Think, and enough to bring a bit of international flavour to the draft as well.
We've got a lot of highlights this year, got a lovely draft of horses. I'm beginning to think I wish I had a whole lot of Poisers and Shockings the way they're going, but no, we've got a lovely line of Satono Aladdins to present to the market, which we're really excited about. Of course, we've got Vatimos' second crop coming through, and from the experts are saying they're just as nice as his first crop, which was so well received. And of course, as I say, Shocking and Poiser have just had a tremendous run lately, so yeah, we're going into the sale feeling pretty good about things.
Oh, look, I think we've got an exceptional Perencanto filly out of the mare On Your Feet. She's by Snitzel. The pedigree is really firing up at the moment with Mighty Feet in Australia and Faithful Feet. Yeah, I'm really excited about her. She's got a page, but she's a very physical filly. Perencanto, he's been flying, hasn't he? He's been having a wonderful trot. He's leading the premiership here in New Zealand for a number of winners. He's leading the Hong Kong premiership for wins and individual winners. He's had 2 race meetings up there in the space of 3 weeks, 2 weeks, sorry, where he had 3 winners on the card. Look, he's flying. Australia, he's going really well. He's got some exciting horses.
I'd say generally speaking, just probably the spread of stallions we have. Obviously, Tavistock's a huge part of our draft, like he always is, and he's had a great year. Al Mansour's first crop, which we're obviously very excited about, but I think if you go through the list of stallions, most of the best stallions in Australasia are there. Snitzel, I'm Invincible, Zavabil, Dundee, So You Think, Lonro, Zoostar, they're all there. So it's a really high quality group of stallions, and I think something that should appeal to just about everybody.
Great to hear from the vendors about the quality that they have on offer, some pretty exciting times. And Danny, you've been out and about, you've met some of these horses, and it really seems like there's so much depth.
We get a really good look at these horses as early as August, and what we saw this year is that we've had a particularly kind season, and that really gives New Zealand a real environmental advantage that we do talk about, and it's very real, and that translates into x-ray reports, veterinary findings, and eventually results on the track. So I've got no doubt this year is a special year for sound horses that New Zealand are famous for producing.
And Michael, from a pedigree perspective, we spoke about obviously the size. We're so lucky, aren't we? We've got some great families with so much depth.
And in the last couple of years, when that domestic buyers bench has been quite strong, for an array of people, obviously the big studs buying horses, we've been able to retain some of these fillies, which is really important. But what we've also seen is some of the stallions who have upgraded themselves in the last 12 months have been quite dramatic. There's a couple of obvious ones. Ocean Park has had a massive year in Australia. Prasia has had 2 very, very good horses performing at high levels, and he had his first winner in Hong Kong. And then we've had other stallions coming through like Sacred Fools, who sadly we don't have anymore, but the way his horses have performed, they're horses who now, if someone said to you, a trainer, I've got a horse here to look at, it's by Prasia, it's by Sacred Fools, that's instantly a yes. I'm interested in owning one of those horses because I also know there's secondary markets for them. I think that's really important, the upgrade of that domestic stallion bunch.
Let's have a little look at some of the Group 1 winning NZB graduates. And Danny, as we look through that list, Avantage, Aegon, Coolsign, Mav, Golden 60, Johnny Get Angry, who took out that Victorian Derby, and also Karma Lass, who was successful in the Group 1 1000 guineas. There's an incredible list of names. What's been your highlight?
Look, I've gone with Avantage this year. She was a pre-Christmas 2-year-old. She had 6 runs at 2, including winning the KARAKA Million. Then the last 12 months, she's won the Group 1 Telegraph over 1200 metres, won a weight for age Group 1 at a mile, and then she's won the Group 1 Zabeel Classic over 2000 metres and had the audacity to come back and win our Premier Sprint, the Group 1 Railway, over 1200 again. I think that's a huge testament to the sort of horses we have in New Zealand, and obviously Jamie Richards and David Ellis.
And Michael, what about for you? What's your highlight?
I think probably winning the Epsom M. I mean, it's a glamour race. It's at Randwick. They breed horses to be able to win races like that. She was too good for them. She won a 2-year-old, so her Group 1 win at that level in Australia, which is the second of her Group 1s, legitimises the KARAKA Million again. People go, hey, this isn't a sales race. This is a race through Melody Bell and her Avantage, as Danny mentioned, who produces really good horses. And I think she's a really realistic chance in a race like the All-Star Mile. So she's the one horse we have in this country who we know is good enough to beat almost any horse in Australia.
I went with Inspirational Girl, who of course was successful in Perth, purchased from Jameson Park, and she just did a marvellous job winning, and good to see us getting an international winner like that. It brings those buyers back to New Zealand. Of course, Perth has such a big market. Great to see them getting success with Inspirational Girl. They're our highlights, but what about the vendors' highlights? Let's find out from them.
The obvious one's probably the most timely one, which was Trilly Rose won the Bagot Handicap at Flemington by 7 lengths.
Charlie Rose, 3 lengths. Miyagi, Reflect the Stars, Send Win and St Eustace back in 5th, but Charlie Rose went for home. 200 metres to go. 4-5 lengths. Send Win, Miyagi, Reflect the Stars, St Eustace, but Charlie Rose is going to bolt in. Charlie Rose is 6 lengths in front and wins the Bagot easily. Ease down Charlie Rose.
The thing with her is she's a by Tavistock out of a Zabeel mare, so she's really the true Cambridge stud product, and she would cost 50,000. She's already won 250,000, and the way she won, she's probably going to win a lot more than that. So just, I guess, reinforces the what's on offer every year at KARAKA. Really, there's some great value buying. You can buy reasonably priced horses, and they'll go and win anywhere. And particularly maybe this year, it might be more so than ever.
I would have to go back to Probabeel. She's obviously what she's achieved. We're extremely proud of.
Probabeel takes the lead from her old sparring partner Funstar, and Probabeel will beat Funstar.
That one's a pretty clear-cut one, I guess, and last year, for the first time, we topped the sale at KARAKA with a $900,000 yearling, the colt by Piero out of our squeezer.
At $900,000, I'm going to sell him. At $900,000, and I sell him here. At $900,000, you got 50 more. If you want him, you better bid up. But I'm going to sell. I sell for the one of 50 for $900,000. Gary Carville, you beat off a lot of people. Good luck to you. $900,000. Thank you, underbidders, of which there are a host.
We've got the half-brother this year to offer by So You Think, so I don't think he's going to make anywhere near that sort of money, but I guess going into KARAKA last year, I didn't think the Piero was going to make anything like that either, so he's been our highlight, but we had the highest priced filly at the Ready to Run sale in November, Reliable Man filly, so yeah, look, we've had some nice rewards in the sale ring in the recent times, and no doubt both through KARAKA and New Zealand breds, they continue to punch well above their weight.
Oh, it's probably hard not to go past, Melody Bell. I mean, she won the Empire Rose, second in the McKinnon. But, like, we've had, graduates like Crosshaven and Showmanship, and added that into the spring in Melbourne.
Azar and Crosshaven. Crosshaven kicks and wins. Felicia at the 100, but here's Showmanship over the top. Win number 7, and it's a beauty. Hands and heels, Showmanship won.
That was pretty exciting. Showmanship, was a horse that won 7 out of 8, and unfortunately went a miss. but he had all before him. So but that's racing, that's what it's like, and you know, we've been lucky to have some exciting horses in the last 6 months.
Probably last year's Wellington Cup, I mean, Salsify and the Good Fight were both graduates of our previous drafts. Salsify by Shocking and the Good Fight by High Chaparral out of Pravda, actually, who's been a resident mare here for a long time, one of her last foals, so that was really exciting.
Salsify's in front, and Salsify wins the cup.
One of the highlights for us has been the performances of Play That Song, who was a group-winning 2-year-old that went on and ran really well in the KARAKA Millions. And over the years, that's been a pattern. We've tended to have some very good 2-year-olds come out of the draft, but also some cracking older horses, like a graduate was of our draft has been Call Sign Mav, currently you know, Group 1 winner who ran really well at Awapuni on Saturday.
Well, David, what are we looking at here today?
This is a Tavistock colt out of a mare called Eshizo that actually Te Akau trained. She was a very good mare by Costa del Lago, and she herself is out of Grand Eshizo, who of course left Burgundy and Darcy Brahma, one of the great brood mares that New Zealand's ever had. So with this colt you've got Tavistock, then you've got in Costa del Lago, Danehill and Vice Regal, some of the best stallions that we've seen in the Southern Hemisphere in my lifetime.
When they're parading, what are you looking for?
I'm looking for firstly an athlete, so this horse I don't think will make a 2-year-old, but he'll train into being a really top looking 3-year-old, and he could be a Derby colt. Just walk him up please. Very classy colt. He's got a great girth, obviously got a really good constitution, well behaved sort of horse, good attitude, and a horse that looks very athletic to me.
A lot of ticks?
Yes, definitely. And it's a family that Te Akau's had enormous success with Mark Walker and Jamie Richards, both training winners in the family.
David, it's a very busy time of year for you. What does the yearling selection process look like?
Well, it's my hobby looking at yearlings, so I love it. It's my favourite time of the year, and it's a terrific amount of fun going around with my friends, Joe Walls and Marcus Corbin, and today we've had Sir Patrick Hogan here, and it's a lot of fun. We make it fun, but the real satisfaction is when you go to the KARAKA Million night and see the horses winning.
Who's involved in the selection process?
Well, Jamie Richards, Joe Walls, Marcus Corbin. We've got a really good team, and then our vet Doug Black and his practice fine-tune it a bit, but it's a team that's worked really well for a number of years. The final choice of what we buy and the price is mine, but yeah, we have a lot of fun doing it together.
When does that selection process start?
Really, in April, May, I go around the farms and look at a lot of weanlings, and then the catalogue comes out and gets delivered to Te Akau in early November, and I spend the next month looking at the catalogue every night and looking to see genetic nicks that I think will be successful, ones that I don't like are noted, and then we go around and look at all the yearlings.
How does this year's yearling crop compare to other years?
I think there's a vintage crop of yearlings at KARAKA this year, and it's going to create some unique opportunities for people that want to get into buying a racehorse or getting into a potential broodmare in years to come. This is the year to do it because there's no overseas buyers here, and you know, I'm hoping the competition will be a bit less and that we'll be able to buy some potential champions.
How many yearlings would you have seen so far this year?
Probably 700.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot of time and very tiring, but it's something we love doing.
Why should people invest in the New Zealand racing industry?
Well, I think there's really good news on the way. I think firstly, this year we've got an extra $12 million in duty reduction. We've got another $20 million from racefields legislation, and the TAB have taken probably $20 to $25 million in costs out of the industry. But the great news is that the turnover has been at record levels, so that those things all lead to stake increases in years to come. And also Te Akau loves taking horses to Australia, and of course the stake money there is at record levels, and so it's a great time to be part of this great industry.
And how can people get involved in a Te Akau syndicate?
By just giving me a ring anytime. They're welcome. We love it when people ring me and they come out to the sales, and they all say they're just amazed how welcome they're made to feel by Karen and myself.
And of course, David Ellis and the Te Akau team, so important to the New Zealand racing industry. They were leading purchaser last year, $6.5 million spent. And just wanted to bring it back to a chat around expectations for the sale. Danny, what are yours?
Look, we were really buoyed by the ready-to-run sale. You know, it could have gone either way. We weren't in lockdown, of course, but we had the closed border as we do here. But what that proved to us is that our systems are in place, our technology is robust, and that our customers are willing to use it and buy remotely. So, but at the same time, we're very realistic. We've got 3 times as many horses. It's a very different sale to the 2-year-old sale. So what that says to me is it's a great opportunity for people to buy this year. It really is.
And for you, Michael?
I think the bottom line has to be heard. One of the smartest things I heard was from one of our top agents who said to me, a lot of Australians come to the sale to buy 1 or 2 horses, but they buy 1 or 3 because they get here and they buy a horse because you're on the grounds and you think you can take it home and sell it, and you can. But I think we're going to lose some of that, just a little bit. It's impossible to tell how much of that. I do think there'll be a strong rebound in the domestic market for a couple of reasons. The buoyancy around New Zealand racing's future, and the fact that our economy, the New Zealand economy, has been very strong, hasn't been hit by COVID, and the discretionary spending from people who would usually have gone overseas to Europe, some of our richer clients. They'll go overseas and they'll spend that money. They haven't been going and doing that. So that's been shown again in the house market, in the luxury boat market, in the luxury car market. I think it won't be a hard sell, particularly with money so cheap, Emily, for trainers to say to people, I've got horses here. We saw that at the ready-to-runs. We had David Ellis on earlier. Te Akau basically sold all their ready-to-run horses inside 36 hours.
Yeah, it's a remarkable achievement, isn't it? So let's find out from the vendors what they're most looking forward to at KARAKA 2021.
Well, for me, I'm most looking forward to a high clearance rate. That's the most important thing from a business perspective. So hopefully we can find homes and obviously for good prices. That's my perspective anyway.
It's a great opportunity for New Zealanders to buy too, and it'd be great to see all new buyers there, because it's great fun, and if you can get people that aren't in racing to enjoy it. We had David Ellis here the other day, and he said to one of our clients, if you get a horse it can change your life, a top horse, and yeah, so let's hope they're all there and bidding.
I'm really looking forward to being at the tent this year. We've got a new beer sponsor in Shining Peak Brewery, and we're going to have freshly poured beer on tap there by them. So come along to the tent and have a beer with us.
Like the same as every year, it'd have to be the KARAKA Million really. It's just such a great night of racing. It really sets the tone for the rest of the week. It gives everyone a bit of excitement heading into it, and you know, it's short and sweet and everyone wants to be there and wants to win. So it's just a great way to kick off the week at KARAKA.
I'm actually really looking forward to the sale on a whole. We don't have the number there that we usually have, and therefore I think there'll probably be a bit more of an enjoyment side to it, and we'll be able to focus on the individual horses a whole lot more.
Selling 44 horses. But listen, it's going to be different. You know, we're always up for a challenge. Everyone's in the same boat. You know, let's hope that the rub off of the ready to run. It's a completely different sale, and you know, different stock, different ideas. It's a lot more emotion, I think, that comes in with yearlings and your contacts and your acquaintances that you've had that just, you know, not going to quite be there without the internationals coming. So it's going to be something different.
Probably just hopefully some of the domestic trainers stepping up. I think there's a real opportunity for the domestic trainers and owners to indulge. Normally with the Australians and the Asians here, it's very hard for the New Zealanders to compete strongly, other than of course Te Akau, who you know, always one of our more prolific buyers, but a lot of the other buyers, you know, they struggle to get onto those good horses and buy them well. So I think this year the door's been opened for them to really step up and have a crack this year, and the standard of horse is not going to be any less. It's just a matter of the competition for those horses is probably going to be similar, won't be the same as other years.
I think the thing I'm going to look most forward to at KARAKA this year is the KARAKA Millions. We've got Evan Arlo heading there at the stage from Jamie Richards' stable. He's an ex-KARAKA graduate. Look, yeah, it sets the sale off, doesn't it? And it is the race meeting to be at now. And then to get to the sales, look, I look forward to KARAKA every year. It is the highlight of the year. It's sort of like a second home for us. I love getting up there and I love selling the horses. I love being in the sale ring.
Look, I think all vendors look forward to getting up there and getting out of there, actually. But yeah, look, it's always a nerve-wracking thing, you know, until the last horse goes through the ring, anything can happen. You know what thoroughbreds are like. I mean, you've got it's the first time a lot of them, when they leave the farm, have been off the farm, been on a horse truck, and getting up there safe and sound is our main mission at this stage. And once we get up there, we're just looking forward to presenting them to people and putting them through the ring, and then we can all sit down and put our feet up after the last lot goes through the ring. Yeah.
Well, that's what the vendors are looking forward to, but what about what we're looking forward to? Danny, what's really piquing your interest for the sale?
Well, I've been thinking about this long and hard, and it would be easy to say the KARAKA Million Night, the atmosphere here on the grounds, all those sorts of things. But, you know, for me personally, you know, what I'm really looking forward to is seeing New Zealand on show. You know, the New Zealand Bloodstock team, New Zealand Thoroughbred Marketing, the Bloodstock Agents Federation, New Zealand Thoroughbred Racing putting on the show, and then all our vendors, buyers and internationals really bonding together and putting on a great show and showing just the strength of New Zealand.
What about for you, Michael?
I think it's a really good opportunity. There's an old saying, goes back centuries, which is when there's blood on the street, buy real estate, which means when other people aren't willing to buy things, you can. There's still going to be a very strong ready-to-run sale here in November, which the world could be a vastly different place for. There's still going to be markets overseas where they want to purchase horses. Now, I don't think by any means there's going to be a huge drop in the average here, but there's going to be people watching this in New Zealand who can say, hey, I might be in the game here, and if I'm in the game in a year's time when this horse is 2, there's a chance I can sell it to someone else or race it for really good money, or when it's 3, Alizé's going to be a vastly different place. So I'm going to try and buy the right horse, and I think there'll be really good money for horses who scope well and x-ray out well. There'll be some horses who struggle, but that's every sale in the world. But I do think there's an opportunity here for people who want to grow horses. And yes, there might be some Australians coming in, Emily. There's also plenty of New Zealanders who aren't going to other places. They may not go to the Gold Coast. They may not go to Sydney for those sales because they'll stay here and try and buy locally as well. So I think it's going to be really interesting how all that fits together.
Yeah, it's my favourite time of the year here in New Zealand, the KARAKA Million into the sales. It's great to showcase what we can do. I can't let you both go without getting a KARAKA Million tip. Got the 2 big races to choose from, and in fact, a whole night of quality racing. Danny, your tip and why?
I'm going with the Emeralina this year for the KARAKA Million 3-year-old mile. I just like what she's done to date. She's by Savabeel, who's going so well, obviously. Comes from the right stable, and you know, it's going to be a mouth-watering clash with Aegon, isn't it?
Sure is. And for you, Michael?
I like Sneaky Shark. I think he's a horse who's had no luck so far, and he could well be the horse to beat in the 2-year-old race. I wouldn't be stunned if Danielle Johnson ends up on him as the number 1 for Te Akau with Obi suspended. I do think it's a very special night because we're going to see an unbeaten Aegon and a tremendously exciting Levante in other races on the card. Both horses who I believe are good enough to win Group 1s in Australia potentially later this year. So the race day will be fantastic. Nice entree, but we've got a pretty serious main course coming up here.
We sure have. It's one of my favourite weeks on New Zealand calendar. Quality horse flesh through the race meeting and of course then into the sales. If you'd like to get involved in the New Zealand Bloodstock KARAKA yearling sale, you can do so online at www.nzb.co.nz or also on Freeview. It's been a pleasure to have your company on the 2021 KARAKA preview show, and we look forward to you joining us at the sale itself.